Welcome to the FloTrack podcast presented by Wonderful Pistachios. I'm Liv Ekpone, joined with Ashley Tishins, Corey Mall, and Colin Sahlman from NAU. We're here at the Paddock, our favorite spot here in Eugene, right off of East Amazon Drive. This is day 4. We're trucking away, counting down the days, but we're super excited to be here at the U.S. Olympic Trials. Again, we're filming our show every morning at 11 a.m. here, so come see us, come join us. And if you want more of our content, check out our YouTube account. All of our interviews from post-race interviews as well as our podcast is going to be on there. Check out the Mixed Zone interviews on FloTrack as well, and you can follow along on Twitter and Instagram, all of our social accounts. But as I mentioned, Colin Sahlman here from NAU is joining us today. Colin made it to the semifinals in the men's 1500 at the U.S. Olympic Trials, and we are thrilled to have you here. So Colin, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
So how are you feeling about your performance as a whole?
I mean, definitely really happy with the first day. Second day, I just kind of burnt out, but I'm just happy to be here. It's been a long season. It's been a great breakout season for me, so I'm just happy to get this far and make it to the semifinals. I didn't have the race I wanted, but can't be too disappointed because like my season's been amazing.
And then as a whole, how has this experience just been for you to just be at the U.S. Olympic Trials? This is a huge step. So what does that mean for you right now? Yeah,
I mean, I'm just taking it in as just like experience, just gaining all this experience. I mean, I remember before my race just looking up in the crowd and the stadium looked almost full. It was really cool. I've never experienced that before at a track meet. So just really cool to be up there in like the national stage, not just like the NCAA stage, but like the U.S. stage. So cool to be competing against those guys.
Yeah, piggybacking off that a little bit, I mean, you mentioned like it's been a breakout year for you kind of, and like, you know, you've competed at the NCAA level, but then the U.S. level as well, and, you know, all the way back to indoor and then to outdoor now. Like, you know, what do you think are some of the biggest, you know, takeaways you've gotten from being on all those different stages and competing against, you know, so many different guys?
Yeah, I think it's just learning like different ways to race, I think, because last year I was just it was still a good track season, but like a pretty big learning experience, just like kind of learning like how to race different ways. But now knowing that experience from last year and just like being able to be confident going into those races, I think I'm just a lot more confident this year, and just I know what to expect. I know what to do in those situations. So when I know what to do, I can race well. So I think that was just a huge breakout thing that I learned this year.
U.S. Olympic Trials, one of the biggest meets that is out there, other than the Olympics, really. When you went into that first round, I mean, how were you focused? Like, did it kind of, you talked a little bit about the crowd and the environment, but, you know, how big was it for you?
We pretty much had to treat every race like a final, because I didn't know, because I was feeling pretty burnt out. I mean, I've been running for 11 months straight, so it's been really long. I'm actually kind of glad to like take a reset break now. I don't know how much longer I could have gone, but yeah, pretty much just treat every race like a final and just race the race, because it's pretty much the same thing, like from the NCAAs to the U.S. trials. Like the races are the same. You just have to treat them like the same thing and not think of it as like, oh, the U.S. trials, like this huge event, or you just have to think of it as just one race at a time. So I try and narrow my vision down to that.
Well, right now, I mean, middle distance running is really competitive, super competitive. You know, you have guys, all of them trying to make the team, but it feels like there's sort of this era now that's kind of coming up. You're among them, kind of the college guys that are kind of the new wave of trying to insert themselves into these positions to be able to qualify for U.S. teams. What do you make of basically the position you're in right now, this new wave of guys trying to make their mark in middle distance running?
Yeah, I feel like definitely the last few years in the 1500, I feel like NCAA has just like taken off. Like it's gotten really, really deep in that event, and it's really cool because, I mean, in high school I thought I knew like a lot about running in the 1500, and then I get here, I'm like, okay, I knew nothing actually. So it's cool to like learn that, but also it's also cool to be up there in that field that's just keep on getting deeper and deeper. So I feel like I'm learning a lot of really good experience in that event, and it's cool because I feel like if you're one of the best in the NCAA in the 1500, you're probably one of the best in the U.S. in the 1500. So it's really cool to just like get that racing experience with people who like likely I will be competing against for years to come. So.
Just thinking about this moment now, competing at your very first U.S. Olympic trials, I know in 4 years there's another opportunity that will be in LA. Does this kind of give you some confidence, just knowing that you have this experience underneath your belt and kind of get the pre-Olympic jitters out a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was definitely really nervous coming into this meet. Probably like the most nervous I've been for a meet this season. It's just because I'm like, it is the Olympic trials. Like I would love to compete for a spot at the team, and unfortunately, like I fell short of that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm only going to gain experience in these next 4 years. So 4 years is still a ways away, but yeah, that's definitely what I want to do, and it'd be really cool to be back here then.
You weren't the only NAU guy competing at the trials. Obviously, Nico Young made the team in the 10K. Like, what was that like, seeing someone that obviously you've known for very long, in high school all the way up to now? Like, what was that experience like for you?
No, it was really cool. We were talking about that the other day, that we've literally been running with each other, I think since I was like 9, 10 years old, and so over half my life I've known him and run with him. So it's cool to see him make an Olympic team. It obviously would have been like a crazy story if we both were to go together, but it's really cool that he got to do that, and yeah, I'm just gonna support him, watch him. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, the Newberry Park story is a really fascinating one. You both are at the trials, but you look at Lex and Leo, your brother, Aaron. I mean, you're all competing at the highest of levels. And Newberry was considered the best team that has ever been out there in cross country. How do you look at how all of you are carrying over that success in high school now to a bigger stage, and does it weigh on you at all? I mean, or how do you treat some of that?
Well, I kind of just try and I don't know, I don't really think back like too much. I'm kind of just moving like forward in the future. So I know what my goals are, and like they're pretty big goals, and I have really high expectations for myself. So I try and just like what happened. It's great. Even this year, I mean, I did it. It's great. I have to like move on and keep moving forward because that's like what the sport demands.
Is it validation that you guys are in these positions though? Like it's validation that this team was exactly what people thought it was.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was. Yeah, our team. Like looking back, our team was. It was crazy. Yeah, I don't think that really set in as I was in high school, but looking back, I'm like, yeah, that was pretty insane. And between like two sets of brothers too, like leading the way, it's a really cool story. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that I was like a part of that and part of that history. So really cool to like look back and be like, wow, that happened.
All right, so Colin, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. The 1500 final is tonight. How do you kind of see this shaking out? We've been talking about it over the last couple days. We were even trying to predict how the semifinals were going to go. We were like, is it going to be a little bit more conservative, or are they going to keep going out? But it seems like the times are just getting faster. But how do you see it going and shaking out, and what do you think the winning time will be?
I mean, I definitely see it going fast today. I think there's some athletes in there, especially like Yard Nagus, who will, I feel like he's more comfortable like taking it and leading it. So that's what he did in the semifinal. I think that just pretty burnt me out, but I see him probably taking it, gunning it from the start, and I definitely see him making the team. And then I'd say the next two, I'd say Hobbs Kessler looks really good right now, and then Cole Hawker. I know those are the big three that everyone's pretty predicting, but they all three look really good right now. So that's probably my prediction for the team, and I think it'll probably be one in like 3:33, 34.
3:33,
Okay.
yeah,
Wow,
pretty much.
Spot on.
Yeah.
This is spot on. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. Yeah.
I'm curious of some of the guys that are a little more veteran, in the sport. Craig Engels comes to mind,
yes.
And obviously you talked about Yared and Cole. Did you have a chance to talk to any one of them, during sort of your rounds, semifinal? Craig's a very high character. Like he has great stories. I mean, were you able to kind of chat with any of them?
Yeah, I was able to chat with Craig right after my race. Yeah. It was just like, it was just like we didn't really talk much about like running or anything. It was just like having a good chat. Yeah, good chat. Like he has like a disposable camera taking pictures with us. So yeah, I got a picture with him. So yeah, I got a picture with him. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, he's just a really cool, chill guy. So cool to talk to, and definitely rooting for him too.
What has been your favorite event so far? Have you been able to like sit inside Hayward, kind of get a another view, because I know you've been on the track, but have you been able to catch any events, and which one has been your favorite so far?
That 400 meters with I like watching Quincy Wilson, the high schooler. He's 16 years old, running 44 seconds in the 400. Like, that's really exciting. Super cool that that's going on. He's crazy. Really cool to watch him do that against like all these big pros.
What if we ask Colin some content creator questions?
Oh, you want some content?
Yeah.
Okay. The most recent question I've been asking, because Snoop Dogg is here. Okay. How fast do you think he can run a 1500? Okay, if he was to toe the line and run a 1500.
Oh, this is telling too. I don't. What do you think?
Honestly, I have no idea. I mean, we saw him run 34 seconds in the 200.
Yes.
So,
Trying to extrapolate that.
Let's see.
oh man, I don't know. Maybe like 6 minutes or something.
6 minutes? Okay.
That's solid. That's solid.
I'm thinking more like 8 minutes.
15.
I don't think he could sustain
I would give him 7:30.
7:30. Okay, fair. That's fair.
I forgot who I asked yesterday, but they were like, I think it was an 1800 meter gal that I spoke to, and they were like, I don't even think he's going to make it to the 250. And I was like, oh, you're probably right. Okay, to make it a little bit easier, I'm like, it's a sprint. So how fast do you think he can run 100?
A 100? I'd say full sprint probably like maybe 15 seconds.
Okay, that's been kind of the average. Okay, final question for you. When you towed the line in the semifinals, what was the last thought you had? It could have been funny, could have been serious, just what was the last thing that you can remember?
When I towed the line?
Yeah.
It's pretty, I mean, the last thing I thought of, because I'm like very competitive, even though I didn't do what I wanted to, I said, I'm going to try and win and kick everyone's butt. So didn't end up happening, but that's the last thought I had.
Well,
I was on the line.
the Olympics are in LA. As you mentioned, Newberry Park is right outside. Is that kind of cool that it's going to come back to your home turf a little bit? Do you feel like that means something to you?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. I was like, dang, like the home field like advantage, like, because like I'm like from Southern California, so like all that like support in the stands, I'm sure like a lot of people go to watch. Like, I'm sure that energy is just going to be crazy, especially for like U.S. athletes, and I would love to be there and like witness that. Like, so that's in 4 years. A lot can happen, and I'm just like still a whiles away, but looking in the future, I'm like that would be really, really cool.
Now, Colin, before we let you go, I know you've been to Eugene a handful of times, so what would you say is your favorite thing to do here?
I mean, I've only been here to compete, so I only go back and forth on the track, and I don't really go out, so I honestly couldn't really answer that question.
Okay. Have you been to Priest Trail yet?
I have, yes.
You have?
Yeah, I did really like that trail. It's really cool. It went back further than I thought it did. I thought it was just a short little trail, but yeah, I took it pretty far, so that was really cool.
Well, Colin, we want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining in on the podcast, and we're just wishing you all the best for next year.
Can we ask you one more question, actually? We got one more question.
Yes.
This is a fan question.
Fan question.
So Matthew Centrowitz, unfortunately, was not able to compete here this week, but legend in the sport, Olympic 1500 meter champion, and for a lot of guys, an inspiration. And I think he's retiring after this year, as he said. Any thoughts on his influence on you, maybe growing up?
Honestly, didn't really watch too much track growing up, but he's been up in Flagstaff a little bit and doing some runs with him. He's just a super cool, like funny, personal guy, and yeah, nothing but respect for him. Like he's still ran. What did he run? 3:35 this year. Yeah. He's like definitely on the older end, still running that. It's just like nothing but respect for him, and yeah, I think he's like. I remember watching his like 2016 Olympics, and like he's just super good at like tactics. So like watching his tactics is really inspiring for me, and yeah, he'll definitely be missing the sport, but I'm sure he won't be away from it. He'll probably stay around, and I'm sure I'll hopefully see him around. He's a really cool, really good guy.
Colin, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you joining us for the FloTrack podcast, and we're just wishing you all the best as you could just continue to thrive in the sport.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
As Colin mentioned, one of his favorite races to watch is the 400 meters, and of course it features Quincy Wilson. And he's a huge fan of Quincy. So again, in the semifinals, we saw him break the U18 and national high school record again. And this time he dips it to 44:59. So tonight he's going to compete in the finals. How do we see this shaking out?
I think he has a shot. First off, I think how's it shake out? I don't know. I don't think anybody can predict that because it will be really fast. But what he's shown is that he's capable of making the team at this point. And I think regardless of where he finishes, we're going to see Quincy again in 2024, and I'm almost certain of that. But I think what I've seen from him over the first 2 rounds is that he has proven that he has the toughness to respond to any situation. In the first round, he made a really hard move in the final straight away. Yesterday he was 5th, I think, 6th after the final curve, and trusted his guts to get there. And I think that is, really a different, I think, just ability level. Looking at the guys out there, I wanted to mention about Quincy Hall. Saw him in the mix zone after the race, and we asked him, hey, he ran 44.42, but obviously he saw Quincy ran the next heat. What do you think? And he said that he reached out to Wilson a week before the trials, and he gave him some advice. And the advice was, don't worry about all the outside factors heading into the trials. Focus on you. Run your races like you're back in Maryland in your own lane. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. And I think he's absolutely done that. And I think everybody around him respects him for that too.
I want to piggyback on that too, because I was in the content lounge and he told me the exact same thing. He's like, Quincy Hall actually reached out to me and told me to just run my race and do my thing. So I think having him hear that from the veterans of the sport, from those that have done it before, for those that are even older than him and mentoring like the king, Quincy, I think it just speaks volumes that he's soaking it all in. He understands that I just need to run my race and go out there and have fun. So, boy, it was just wild to just watch. And I know you were there and saw it too. What was it like for you out there?
I think also going off of something that Quincy Hall said in his interview, he said, I'm little Quincy out there. Quincy Wilson's the big Quincy. And because I think the big takeaway I had, the one thing that Quincy Wilson has going for him in this final, he has all of Hayward Field is on his side, right? You can capitalize on that sort of, that momentum, that confidence. I mean, again, I've never seen a crowd roar like that for someone. So far, the trials, I haven't seen anyone.
The NBC graphic has a little Quincy,
the little arrow.
follow Quincy too. I mean, everybody's capitalizing, I think, off of it.
And I like what you mentioned with this toughness. Again, coming off that final turn, going to the final 100, he was in 5th place. He knew he had the battle to try to get that, either in on time, which he got in on time, or get up in that top 2. And I mean, gosh, I don't want to count him out because I think there's anything could happen. We all know who Quincy Wilson is. I think solidly, I think he can make that relay pool for sure. But top 3, I'm just gonna shrug. Maybe it happens. If that happened, I think everyone would go crazy.
I think it happens in the final meters.
Yes.
But I'm putting him at 3. At this point, I'm putting him at 3.
Okay.
I'm just trusting that the guy will be there. And he will get there, so I'm putting him at 3.
And I think to his advantage too, because we had a chance to talk with him also, he's like, we have not seen the special uniform. Frozone is coming out. We've been kind of thinking how is his uniform going to play? I see it a light blue, some ice drip, but he's going to be ready. So before we move on, what are our final predictions? Who do we have as our top 3?
I mean, so I think Norman, but I'm a little worried about Norman because he hasn't run under 45. He hasn't had to. He really just cruised yesterday. And I mean, he let up, I think, maybe 40 meters to the finish because he tried to look to his right. Nobody was there. So he hasn't really he hasn't been pressured yet. And I'm a little worried about that. But I'm picking Norman for 1. I'm going Quincy Hall 2 and Quincy Wilson 3.
Okay. Ashley, what about for you?
That's kind of my same thing. I actually think Quincy Hall will win this. I think he's looked really, really strong in the rounds, and I've been really impressed by him. I think he'll win it. Again, Michael Norman, it's weird, because it's he said, I had a little bit of an injury coming into it, so it's are you just easing into it because, just
you have no pressure?
You have no pressure, or you, do you not actually have that speed there? I guess we'll find out today, but I'll put in Michael Norman 2, and I really do want to pick Quincy 3. I really, really do. I think this guy can do it.
Okay. I agree with Ashley. I have Quincy Hall, so little Quincy, number 1. Michael Norman, again, like we're talking about his semi. I just don't know.
Quincy Hall's like
because-
6'3", by the way.
Yes.
He's very tall.
Yes, and Michael Norman, like he shut the brakes down. He was like looking around, but like you said, he hasn't been pressured. So how is he going to feel when that competition is up next to him? So I have him 2, Quincy Wilson 3, and then I'm just going to slide like Chris Bailey. If Quincy is not there, I think he will be. Just in case I have Chris Bailey sliding in that 3rd spot.
I might have a hot take, but I think Matthew Bowling's going to be 4th or 5th. Matthew Bowling.
Brian agrees with you. Brian and I were talking about this on the plane. He's like Team Matthew Bowling. So, yeah.
To be honest, he got out really well the other day. Like I that was my first initial reaction in his heat. I was like, dang, Matthew Boland's kind of going for it.
Yeah.
So
and he walked, like a couple of guys stopped. Matthew went through the mix zone. I mean, he's locked in. Like he wants to make the team, obviously, whether that's on the top 3 front or in the pool. But I think he's really focused.
I agree. So we'll see. We'll have to wait till tonight to figure that one out. All right, really briefly, I know we talked about the men's 1,500-meter field. It's just completely stacked. Colin kind of gave us some insight, too, in his experience competing in this. 5 NCAA athletes in the finals. But what will it take to make this team, and what are our predictions going into it?
I mean, I think Colin hit it right on the nose, like literally right exactly on the nose. If I look at what I wrote down, I think it's going to take 3:33 to make the team. I think Yard's going to be the one that's like really sets the pace, and he's going to be the one to take the win. And then Cole Hawker and Hobbs Kessler, like again, that's like the easy pick. I feel like because again, like they are like, as Colin called them, the big 3 or whatever you would say. But like they've looked so good. Like Hobbs Kessler was with Yard like right off his shoulder when Yard broke the meet record, in the semifinals, and then Cole Hawker, I mean, he ran 3:34 in the first round, and then looked really strong in the semis. So I think that's your team. If anything, I think the way that this gets broken up is if they decide not to go fast and it becomes more tactical. Then that's when all hell can break loose potentially.
Yeah. Corey, how about for you?
Yeah, I agree. I think we all have 3:33
Yeah,
written
3:33.
down here. And I'm going to stick to what I said earlier. I think there is a wild card out there that could shake this up. As we've seen over the first 3 days, the expected isn't the reality of what we actually see on paper. So I think those are the top 3 guys to look at. But when it comes down to it, in an ideal world, I want this race to really, take risks, be bold, make those moves, try to own this race. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be on the final straightaway. All these guys are going to try to set themselves up for that finish. And if it does come down to that, I worry about Hobbs a little bit. I'm actually going to stick with Elliott Cook from Oregon. I'm picking one of the college guys, I think, to grab the final spot here because I think there is a wild card in the mist.
Yeah, I have to agree with Corey on this one. I have Elliott Cook just somehow finding a way to get into that top 3. You know why? I just seeing him in that semi, with him being on that rail, he looked very comfortable, very relaxed, and also he's going to have the Hayward Field Magic right behind him to support him. You know it's going to be roaring when he steps onto the track. So I think we're all in agreement here, 3:33, Yard Nagoose doing Nagoose things, and we're just going to keep pushing it forward. So again, the 1,500-meter finals tonight, along with the women's 5K. This is going to feature athletes like Ellie St. Pierre, Caitlin Toohey, Parker Valby, Elise Craney, and so many others. So, based off what we saw in the rounds, Ashley, how do you see this kind of playing out?
I mean, for me, no one's beating St. Pierre. She looked so calm in the rounds. I think she has the tactics. I don't think anyone can beat her in the final closing laps. Like, she can really hit another gear. And she played it so well. Like, she didn't exert any energy in that first round. I mean, she sat on Parker Valby for basically the entire race until the closing laps. And so then she let Parker Valby do all the work and then just kind of, boom, went and did her thing. And so I feel like she is going to easily win this race. From there, I think what I'm most curious about is what is Valby's strategy? Because we saw what she did in the first round, and that's typically what she would do in a race, is especially in that 5K, she wants to take it out and set the tone, and she wants to be the one in control. But she's racing against pros, it's a little bit of a different scenario. Will that strategy work? I don't know. Does she try to let someone else do the work and really play it Try to be in the mix with everyone? I don't know. I think that's another question I have.
I think that's the biggest question because, like you mentioned, she's always the one that wants to just be in control of that race. And I just think about what we've seen throughout her year this year, how some athletes are like, kind of like her teammates are with her and like, you cannot pass your teammate until we give you approval. So I can see Parker Valby being in the mix, not necessarily being the front runner, but be up there in that front pack and just let it loose.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
You said Ellie St. Pierre is pretty much unbeatable. I disagree. I think Elise Cranny will. I mean, I don't know if she will, but I think she can win this race. She's the defending 5K champion, and she is right there with St. Pierre. I have no doubt about it. I think Cranny is ready for this, and she will be up there. Those are my top two women. I think I agree with you that St. Pierre's looked incredible. She's got another gear, but Cranny has proven herself in this situation time and time again. So I would actually put Cranny up there as well. I think Parker's going to be on the outs. I think speed is going to be a critical difference in what she doesn't have compared to professionals when you need it in that final close. We haven't really seen a lot of like top end speed from her in finishing off races. She really has like made those moves early, pushed the field to get to those times. So I think when it comes to that, I have Schweizer slotting in above her, Gisette Andrews possibly too. I think Parker's going to be on the outs here in the 5K.
Okay. I have Ellie St. Pierre 1. And I think it's going to be a toss-up between second and third between Josette Andrews and Elise Cranny. I don't know amongst those two women. That's what I have. We only have 4 women in this field who have hit the Olympic standard, including St. Pierre, Andrews, Cranny, and Schweizer. So those are the ones that, as I feel like it's going to shake out, it's going to be amongst those top 4. But I'm with you with Elise St. Pierre grabbing it. Who do you have as like your second and third?
Definitely Elise Cranny. I think she looked really strong in those first rounds. And again, she's done it before. Again, it's like a toss-up. I may go Andrews actually on this one just because I feel like she's been very consistent over the course of the season, but we'll see. And I know Schweizer, she was coming back. This season for her has been coming back from an injury that she had, and I think Andrews gets it done today.
All right, so those are our picks. Final event of the night, and this is, I feel like, the event I've been talking about for at least 3 months now. The women's 800 meters is going to be absolutely loaded. It's just like all the heavy hitters have made it into the final, and it's going to be the last event on the track. So what are our last minute I just got goosebumps talking about that. What are our last thoughts as these women are looking to punch their tickets? I think it's honestly it's a toss-up.
I think the thing that's like I'm stuck on, we haven't seen a thing Mo dominate. You know what I mean? Like, and so in that reason, it's like, gosh, like, could we see just like chaos happen in this 800? Like maybe, like, I don't know. The semis yesterday were very intriguing, I think. Like, obviously, Athingmo won her heat, but it came at those final closing meters. I mean, Raven Rogers was a fighter yesterday, winning her semifinal heat. You know, Kate Grace got the Olympic standard too, and diving at the line and getting some battle wounds there, and kind of some elbowing with Michaela Rose at the finish. Sage Herta-Klecker looked pretty good as well. Like, I think there's a lot of people that can make this team, and it really depends on, again, are we going to have someone push the pace? I can see someone like Michaela Rhodes doing what she usually does and getting out really hard and seeing if the field can catch her. I think that's probably what's going to happen again, but like, I don't know.
That's my point. I have no idea.
I'm so conflicted.
I have no idea. I agree with you. And I was talking with Talk with T yesterday in the content lounge because we were watching Michaela Rose and we're like, oh wow, like she's really gone out aggressive. It was a completely different race than what we saw at NCAA's. NCAA, she kind of hung a little bit back, which is not her normal race strategy. She's typically the one that kind of goes from the gun and likes to be in control, similar to what Parker Valby does. So I would not be surprised, like you mentioned, seeing Michaela Rose take it and be like, y'all come catch me. I can see that happening. Yeah. That's where I think she thrives.
I think that's a losing move for Rose if she does say that's my winning strategy, because if you make a move too early in this race, you're not looking, I think, in your periphery. And the periphery is Athingmo and Allie Wilson. All these women are ultimately have a target now to chase. So if I were her, I would stick to sort of what has worked right now, and I would try to save yourself a little bit and just go for that final 50 meters, right? Put yourself in a position and then strike there. But I could see her getting top 3. She's looked so good. She's fit. I think she's ready to do it. I think coming off of yesterday's race, I worry a little bit about Kate Race going back to back on this final race of the day. But I don't know. I think she's capable. I'm not going to lose doubt in her. I mean, she is just the GOAT in my eyes. So, I mean, even though she's coming back from injury and a lot of people are seeing her for the first time in 2024, I still trust that she's got the juice there. My question is, between Nia Atkins, Allie Wilson, Raven Rogers, there's not enough spots to put everybody in, but Atkins has put herself kind of in a position to make a team. Does she do it based on sort of what you've seen so far?
I'm going to put Aikens as number 1, and my reasoning behind
as the champion, like winning this race?
Well, I see her in that top 3. Like, I see her being in the mix. A Thingmo I see being in the mix. Again, it's that third one. It's so deep. But I see Aikens, like, she's the defending champion. She has already gone 157 this year, is looking very sharp. She is also someone that has been, like, I don't know if you had a chance to talk to her in the mix zone, but she's like bulldozing through whenever she comes through the content lounge. And I've seen her, like, she's with Coach Danny on the side. She's doing her warm-up. She is cooling down. No headphones. Like, she is, like, in it. Like, there's no distracting her. So I can see Aikens being in that top 3 mark. I see a Thingmo being in the top mark. Gosh, it's just so many.
I think as we're talking, I've been sitting here thinking about like what my picks are and coming to a decision. I have my picks.
Okay,
so let's make our picks.
Okay.
Thingmo, Raven Rogers, and Sage Hurdeclacker. That's my top 3.
Okay.
What can you talk me through Sage?
I feel like overall she's been super consistent. I think she's also one kind of like Nia. This girl's locked in. I don't know if you've ever seen her come out on the track and like in her lane. I've never seen someone with like the most serious face going into a final, and so I feel like, again, she's been one that I think she's fighting for her chance, right? Like, I mean, she's coached by Dathan Ritzenheim. Like, I think he's going to prepare her really well for a big final like this, and I think this is her time. And then Raven Rogers, she also has some of that Hayward magic, behind her too, so that's a factor. And again, like, she is a fighter. She's also made this team before, and I think she can get it done on the day.
Do you have your picks?
I think 1 for me. I'm actually going to go Nia 2. Okay. I think, what Colin said earlier, wipe away whatever's happened in the past, even the last race. This is a different point. This is a different precedent. All she's got to do is have her best race. And I think she has set herself up. And I'm going to put her in this position. She didn't race particularly well in the semifinal, I think. She left a lot there. But I think she fixes things, and I think she gets number 2 here. And then my third pick, the third pick is...
That's where I'm stumped.
Yikes. I will go Sage. But can I have a 3B if that doesn't work?
A 3B.
3A, ideal Sage, but Allie Wilson, my 3B, possibly, slotting in there. Allie Wilson ran well.
Wait, did you make your pick yet?
No, I'm literally looking at the start list, and I feel so stumped. A Thingmo, Nia Aikens. It's that third spot. I like Allie. I like Michaela Rose. Juliet Whitaker, she was in the back in the content lounge with me, and she came through, and she's like, the third heat was on the TV. She's like, Liv, can I go watch? I said, go ahead, go watch it. And she's like watching the times. She's like, Liv, did I make it? And I'm like, I hate being the one to be like, yeah, you made it. No, you didn't. So I'm like refreshing, and I'm like, honey, I think you did it. And she was like, that was the hardest race that she's ever had to do. The semifinals is always the hardest. So I want to do a 3A, 3B. I'm going with the collegian. And Michaela Rose, Juliet Whitaker. I feel like this is going to be my 3A, 3B spot.
Man, y'all are cheating. Y'all are cheating with 3A, 3B.
Well, give us a 3B
I just don't
then.
know.
Wait,
Give us a B.
B.
Give us a B.
Give us a 3B.
I'm going to go Michaela Rose.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
All right. Those are our picks, locked and loaded. We said it here on the podcast. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, come see us at the pad off East Amazon Drive. We kick off at 11 a.m. All the content's going to be on the site. YouTube, check it out, like, subscribe, all the things. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.